Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got a lot to talk about today. Iran wants to legalize Bitcoin now. That is going to create a big conversation across the planet. We have Ripple Director of Developers, I believe it is. Is that correct? Yeah, Director of Developer Relations accuses Strike connected to the Lightning Network of copying Ripple ODL, right? It's getting uglier. And then we have an update in the SEC Ripple lawsuit, which obviously has become a huge mess, a traveling circus, if you will. And then we're going to hear from a couple analysts that are calling for 3-digit XRP regardless of the current state of the market. And trust me, the current state of the market is a mess. Let's go ahead and roll that beautiful intro and unpack this thing.
This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter at BackupBradleyAbove and everything that we're talking about here today. It is June 12th, 2021. I'm going to start time marking these videos. This is the first video today, and I think it'll be the only one today. If you get a second one, consider yourself lucky. There's a lot going on today. I got to see my grandson, and nothing comes before that. So looking at this, the current crypto market cap today is 1.5 trillion plus, and it is currently bleeding everywhere from the top down, no doubt about it. All right, Bitcoin sitting at 35,000, just above. Ethereum at 2,300, just under 2,400. And we're looking at right now Cardano at 143, $1.43, and XRP sitting at 82 cents. Okay, we're off by almost 5% on the 24-hour and 13.36% on the 7-day. Let's go ahead and let you know right now, iTrust Capital integrates Coinbase custody for digital asset security. We shared this the other day when it was breaking news, but iTrust Capital, I've been saying for quite some time, is the best gold, crypto, silver IRA on the planet. If you're concerned about taxes, then why not get a Roth IRA with them, and you can have tax-free of your crypto. Right? And if you wanted to, you could actually transfer your 401k and your previous IRA. If you need to, you can move it over into iTrust as well. So a lot of people doing that. You should check it out for yourself if you're interested. Right now, looking at 81 cents right here, ranging in the low end of 80 cents, 0.8095, and the upper end of the range is at 0.8783. It's actually a pretty tight range at the moment, and we could go lower, right? And we know that. And we're going to hear from some of the analysts today. And what I find interesting is we're going to hear from a new analyst that is aligning with one that has been really shining like a star. And we're going to take a look at that in just a few minutes. But quickly, let's catch up with the news today. This is from Michael Val 5 Links, a bill which would have required Bitcoin miners in New York to halt operations for 3 years as a part of an apparent effort to slow the environmental impact of crypto has been defeated in the state legislature. I went in and looked at this, and it shows that the Bill 6486 failed to pass the state assembly today after lawmakers in the Democrat-controlled state Senate approved the legislation earlier this week. And it was really knocked down because the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers labor union spoke out against the anti-mining legislation, saying it was unfair to its members. So that's where that is. Now, what I wanted to show this for is not only is it been killed inside of the legislative body, but it's just the other part of this is that, maybe we see something on a federal level that addresses it and not just a state level. That's really what I'm waiting for. Victory Capital, an investment management firm with over $157 billion in assets under management, has announced its plans to enter the cryptocurrency market with the launch of a private fund. Now, this is interesting. And notice the flip-flop of this, the hot and cold of how people are seeing Bitcoin. right? I'm going to get into that in just a second as a final thought on it before we move on to new news. And it says here, according to the announcement, the firm published that a private fund comes after it signed an exclusive agreement with NASDAQ and crypto-focused asset manager Hashdex. And it will be the exclusive sponsor of private placement funds and other vehicles for U.S. investors based on NASDAQ Crypto Index, a multi-coin crypto index. So there you have it. They're in bed with NASDAQ. And what's beautiful about this is that before we move on to the next piece of news is that, again, there's that hot and cold. You see these investment funds and management firms taking a position in the asset, but then you're also seeing things like this. Iran's president wants to legalize Bitcoin as soon as possible. Well, we've seen El Salvador just recently do it. You know, the hypocrisy here amongst Bitcoin maxis is simply this. Now, I was just at the convention in Miami, and they had 20, 30, 40-foot banners hanging from the ceiling that basically say, take down the system, defund the system, right? Anti-bank, anti-establishment. The real illicit activity is KYC, which is Know Your Customer, AML, right? Anti-money laundering. These narratives that were at that conference support the idea of being able to have privacy to commit illicit activities. And that is not a solution make. And the point I want to make about this is that the hypocrisy there of it all was really this. Everyone's down with the government, down with the anti-establishment, down with the banks, all this business. But the breaking news of the conference is, you know, not the down with the man like the mantra and the logo that was set up. They announced on the last day of the conference that El Salvador was going to legalize Bitcoin as legal tender. So essentially, they spent the 3 days, and up until now, the whole narrative of Bitcoin is down with the man, anti-establishment, and the breaking news on the last day of the conference is that they were getting in bed with the man. Dramatic pause. So the reality here is now we see Iran's president wants to legalize Bitcoin as soon as possible. Well, there's some more climbing into bed with the man. I thought Bitcoin was supposed to be anti-establishment, anti-bank, anti-government, right? My point here is simply this. Say what you will, say what you want. And listen, I wish I had 1,000 Bitcoin or 10,000 of them. I wouldn't be upset. But the reality here is this, is the more that this happens from countries wanting to legalize Bitcoin as legal tender, I believe it puts it more in the crosshairs of the G7 and the G20, and certainly in the major countries of the world like the US and China and Japan and the UK and places like that. I don't believe for a second that they're going to go for any of this. And if they do, I believe it would be at the solution of having a neutral bridge asset like XRP sit in the middle of these things, so it would not be able to conquer the world, so to speak, right? This is the one thing I'm pretty sure that the world, no matter how they feel about each other, will come together to work to make sure that never happens for something like Bitcoin, because it's not backed by a government, right? Okay, now there's that. Now here's this interesting piece of news from Michael Val 5 Links. Ripple's director of developer relations accuses Strike of copying on-demand liquidity. Well, listen to this little squabble. The Lightning Network-powered app Strike bringing Bitcoin to El Salvador was widely viewed as a breakthrough moment for the entire industry, but not everyone is happy. Matt Hamilton, director of developer relations at Ripple, claims that Jack Mallers' killer app took notes from the company's on-demand liquidity solution, formerly known as XRapid. ODL allows instantly bridging fiat currencies with the help of XRP cryptocurrency. The way Strike converts Bitcoin into Tether is strikingly similar to the Ripple's flagship product, according to Hamilton. Problem is, Strike then takes Bitcoin and automatically converts them back to USD Tether, which has always been in question whether it's actually backed by the proper amount of currency. Using it in real-time automated risk management trading infrastructure, remittance make up 20% of El Salvador's gross domestic product, which would make it a lucrative market for Ripple. However, the tropical country has already adopted the Lightning Network. Hamilton states that the ODL, on-demand liquidity, is more decentralized and liquid compared to Strike. Here's the other problem. El Salvadorian citizens don't make a ton of money per day. And I saw an article that said it was around between $6 and $10 a day on average. Well, that's not a lot of money. And if that number is accurate or anywhere close to accurate, then you have to ask yourself, with Bitcoin transactions being at least $20 to $60 on average, what in the hell's the benefit? I mean, I think the citizens of El Salvador might have buyer's remorse not long after this gets going here. So we'll see how this plays out. This is a reminder of where we are right now with the mess of the case of the SEC versus Ripple. There's a very short clip that really shows you that, Gary Gensler, before becoming the chair, now currently at the SEC, obviously knew that Ethereum was, in fact, an initial coin offering. Listen to him say it.
Right. What ICOs do is
initial coin offerings are ways people have raised money. Vitalik Buterin did this to raise his $18 million in 2014, if I have my year right, for the Ether network.
And he just explained to you that he did that. He knows he did that. No one has ever, and of course, obviously, Gary Gensler just got to the SEC, but no one has ever held Ethereum accountable for the fact that they did an unregistered security, which is an initial coin offering.
In 2016, somebody had raised $150 million in an initial coin offering. The concept is basically, I want to get proceeds for a network I haven't yet built. I'm going to build this network, but instead of selling equity to a venture capital fund, I'm going to sell a bunch of tokens that someday, hopefully, will be usable. It's a neat way to crowdfund. And foremost, they're trying to enhance the value of the tokens they sold because often they still own tokens.
You can't make it up. This is a clip of Jay Clayton, who is the person responsible for submitting the lawsuit against Ripple and leaving the SEC the day of dropping it. So, there's really no need to hear him speak on it. I mean, he obviously knew what the situation was and did nothing about it, right? Thank God he's not there anymore. But this is another catch you up moment of the back and forth that's going on in the case. This is Jeremy Hogan and James K. Filan, and thank goodness for the both of you. I'm telling you right now, this right here is his original post from James K. Filan, who says the SEC just filed a reply in support of its request that the court extend the deadline for them for both fact and expert discovery by 60 days. What I love here is the remark by Jeremy Hogan. It says the very first federal rule of civil procedure, the rules, should be construed, administered, and employed by the court and parties to secure the just, speedy, and inexpensive determination of every action and proceeding. So that is the ground rule. Now he goes on to say, whereas here, a party wants to extend the discovery deadline, the burden is on it to prove why it is necessary. I think, looking at Roman numeral 3 of the SEC's motion, it fails to be very specific about what facts it still needs to develop, and that is a problem for it. That being said, he does mention that extensions down in Florida here are somewhat routinely granted with bare proof. I don't know what is typical in New York, but a Florida judge is likely to provide some additional time on a first request. But us Floridians are a touch strange after all. Oh, goodness. And then I love that Eyes on Dice says here, don't try and sneak in a touch there, young man. And he says, got me. Yeah, you know what? Look, this case is a mess, right? I mean, it really is. The SEC's had 2.5-year investigation. They've come up with nothing. And the fact that the judge has supported the idea that Ripple can move forward with their fair notice defense, the SEC is literally pleading with the judge to reverse that decision alone, let alone give them more time to try to find a reason to sue them, because the SEC's notion before this was literally a plea to the judge to say, breach the attorney-client privilege between Ripple and their lawyers so we can find out the opinions that were given to them about XRP to help make our case stronger. You can't make it up. That's what's been happening. So I do want to remind people that while this mess is going on in the crypto world, and we're trying to really get legal precedent on this decision with Ripple and SEC, because why? Because this is a new asset class. And the truth is, of the 70 ICOs that were recommended as cases of reference to the judge by the SEC that were ICOs, they are not applicable to Ripple's case. Because if you're new to the space, very quickly, the XRP ledger and the 100 billion XRP tokens, for which there will be no more, were created when the company was called OpenCoin. They intentionally changed the name to Ripple and then gifted the majority of those coins to Ripple to be disseminated throughout the world to be used as money. Right? So the reality here is I believe that's what this case is really about, is about closing the loophole that somebody can't do the same workaround of an ICO as Ripple did because they were OpenCoin beforehand. So this is not a case where, as an initial coin offering, you're building the ledger and the payment system by raising the money to do so. It was already built. So they're going to have to close the door on this for anyone else to be able to do it that Ripple did. I believe that would provide legal precedent, and then that would also limit the ability of entry for someone else to be able to acquire and obtain mass adoption with their token in the same method of procedures of implementation as Ripple did, from being OpenCoin and then graduating to Ripple, the company. I believe it's a big deal just as much as the escrow is, right? Who is going to remain the steward of the escrow release every single month? There's another great question. But anyway, I digress. I think we'll find out all of this as the case closes at some point, which is good news because it won't go on forever. This will close at some point. So now this is a reminder here that, the regular economy, the traditional economy, is in trouble. And so is the Federal Reserve's balance sheet has exceeded $8 trillion for the first time, following extensive measures the U.S. Central Bank took last year to contain the economic damage from the pandemic and the liquidity crisis that existed well before the pandemic even hit. So again, this just goes to show the depth of the situation, and they do not have forever, because the truth is what they're admitting here is that we have not been able to print our way out of a problem, and you never could. Okay. So for me, that's what's so important about a neutral bridge asset like XRP, because I certainly believe that all this money printing has been a way to price in the bankruptcy of the world, period, or the second bankruptcy of the United States, along with the collapse of the global economy, however you'd like to phrase it and say it. Put a bow on it. But I believe that's where we are, and I believe to take the stress off the government dollars of the world, you're going to need a neutral bridge asset for which it gets its value by the daily payment flows that run on its network. This would be a true value measure because you're not printing the money from government dollars to inflate the price of something. You are literally using the payment flows that move on the network to define the price of the said token. This, if it has been truly pre-allocated or contractually obligated, however you like to understand it, which we know it has by many, many big institutions around the world, like central banks, I believe, and others, then you would know that this is their chip of getting out of jail, get out of bankruptcy for free card. And I don't believe for a second that any of them are going to mess this opportunity up, because it's too big and the mess is even bigger. So that's where I'm at on that. Now let's go ahead and get into this, because CoinsKid tells us, who is one of the technical analysts and absolutely an expert in this space, who reminds us here very simply of this point. If Bitcoin makes a higher low here, we could be in for a great week ahead. Now that is promising. We will keep an eye on that little tidbit of information. Now let's go here. Commenting on future prospects of XRP's price, the popular analyst with the pseudonym Crypto Serpent in recent YouTube video asserted we are heading into a bullish, ferocious momentum for XRP, and it's going to be legendary. Well, what I found interesting about this is he's talking about a hard move that would take us to a 3-digit XRP. XRP might hit 3-figure price mark. Here's when and how. And he goes through and explains this and basically talks about the pressure from the case. He says, however, right now we're currently in the 80-cent range, which we all know. He says, commenting on future prospects of XRP price, the popular analyst says, we're heading into this bullish, ferocious momentum for XRP, and it's going to be legendary. Listen to what he says here. Interestingly, after the massive price drop occurred, post-rally of 2017, 2018, XRP's price surged right after moving sideways for a while. A couple of monstrous candles were formed, and the same trend repeated itself twice, but a slightly slower pace. According to the analyst, a congruent move may take place now, he added. Coming to the present, we did have a massive drop, and now we're trading sideways. We can expect 3 hard-hitting moves now. This is what he says, and I'm going to line this up with another technical expert that we follow here on this channel, and it's going to be shocking how much it aligns. The first hard-hitting move would transpire when the coin jumps from $90 to $2.60 plus range, as indicated by the non-time bound chart above. Highlighting the next 2 massive moves of XRP, the analyst went on to say, we'll go one more time for the major move, which we will see us going into the tens of dollars, $10 to $11, and maybe even touch $15 for a little bit. We're going to go sideways again. Then one final push will get the crypto's price to the $123 range. Well, the token's price isn't even $1 right now, and expecting the same to hit $123 mark seems to be a little nonsensical, right? Nevertheless, the trader believes that the coin would be achieving the aforementioned feat in the long run, likely by September next year. He added, it's definitely not going to happen overnight. A lot of things have to go right for this to occur, but it is coming. It is a matter of when, not if. XRP has already remained a popular alt and has been characterized as strong sentiment and demand. The coin has well cemented its place in the top 10 list too, and on the back of more positive developments in the lawsuit, XRP's price is likely to get impacted. What's more, Ripple might go public itself after the lawsuit concludes, and the same would reflect positively on the XRP's price. Though $123 range may seem improbable, a degree of appreciation can certainly be expected. Now, I have to say that this is pretty remarkable to me, and shout out to, was it Crypto Serpent here for that analysis? And this lines up quite a bit like what we've heard here. We saw here, and we've heard Dark Defender tell us for quite some time that not long from now we'll be in that $20 range or $16 euro range, which would be a $20 USD, or the $125 or $100 euro, which would be here. And he sees, on his timeline, and obviously this could be by third quarter this year, or maybe it ends up being next year like Crypto or Crypto Serpent said. I think the point here that I'm really clinging to that grabbed me from this is that these analysts are seeing the same price ranges, and the price targets are seeing the same for them, no matter how they're using it, whether they're using fibs or Anunnaki charts or some other method that they're using, or multiple methods. They're all arriving at the same price targets, and there's something very, very compelling about that to me. All right, that's going to do it for me. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and leave a comment below. Share with somebody you know. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. Make sure you check out all the links in the comment section and the description box, because the reality here is that there's a lot of scammers out here. I get a couple messages a week about somebody has been scammed. For one, I generally do not comment underneath my YouTube videos because there's so many imposters. And I did make a couple comments yesterday and last night just on a couple comments, but I try to stay out of that comment section for the most part because I will never ask you for money. I do not use WhatsApp, so do not respond to anybody on there that claims to be me, because unless you see that little, highlighted gray thing that shows that it is absolutely me talking to you, assume that it's an imposter, unfortunately. So be very careful what you click on. Those are trusted, vetted links in the description and comment section. I'll catch all of you on the next one.